When Shadow's claws dug into the ground, Elijah Brooks didn't yet know that his dog hadn't just found an old cross. He was digging up a 70-year-old secret, a lynching victim, and the dirty conscience of an entire town. As the German Shepherd dug frantically, the sweat running down Elijah's back was cold, because the first thing to emerge from the ground wasn't a wooden cross, but a small, dirty human finger bone. The unjust death of a man he'd never known would forever alter Elijah's escape from his own battle. When the truth is buried this deep, what is the price of unearthing it? Some truths cannot remain buried. Some dogs find not just prey, but justice too. Elijah Brooks had arrived in Willow Creek 6 months earlier. No one wanted him. No one knew him, and perhaps that's why it was the perfect hiding place. 47 years old, bearing wounds from Afghanistan on his back and voices that never ceased in his head, he had settled into the old cabin in the woods outside this small southern town. Shadow was always by his side. The black and grey German Shepherd was his only loyal friend. When Elijah's PTSD attacks came, the dog would curl up beside him, its heavy breathing anchoring him to reality. You're here. The war is over. You're alive. But Elijah knew the war never ended. It just changed locations. From Afghanistan to Willow Creek. From bomb blasts to small-town gossip. From enemy fire to something else. He didn't know what it was yet, but he felt it. Something was wrong in this town. People looked away when they saw him. He heard whispering behind him at the supermarket. A black stranger, an old veteran, a quiet man. Too much strangeness for Willow Creek all at once. That morning he had gone for a walk in the woods. Shadow ran freely, nose to the ground, analyzing every scent. Elijah breathed deeply as he walked. Pine trees, damp earth, birdsong. These were good things. They made him feel alive. The doctor had said in therapy sessions, "Connect with nature, Mr. Brooks. Bring your body into the present moment." Elijah was doing that. Every morning, every evening, Shadow and he walked for miles. But this morning was different. Shadow suddenly stopped. His ears perked up, his body tensed. Elijah was immediately alert. His soldier's reflexes never left him. He scanned the area. Danger, a snake, a bear, but Shadow wasn't afraid. He was excited. His tail was wagging. Then he suddenly burst forward, darted behind a bush and began digging. "Shadow, come here," Elijah called. The dog didn't even hear him. His paws were frantically digging at the ground. He was growling from deep in his throat. Elijah approached. "What did you find, buddy?" Where Shadow was digging, he noticed the ground was slightly sunken, as if something had been buried here years ago, and then the earth had collapsed over it. And right in the middle, half buried in the dirt, was a small cross made of old wood. It must have been very old. The wood was rotten, covered in moss. Elijah's heart raced. This wasn't just an old marker. It was a grave marker. And not an official grave, but a secret. Forgotten, perhaps. Illegal grave. Shadow was still digging. And then Elijah saw it. Something white was emerging from the ground between the dog's claws. At first he thought it was a rock, but it wasn't. He bent down, knelt on his knees and dug a little more with his hands. It was a bone, a thin, long finger bone, a human finger bone. Elijah's breath caught. He jumped back. His hands began to tremble. No. This can't be. In the forest, a secret grave. Human remains inside. Who? Why? When Shadow had stopped digging. He was looking at Elijah as if asking, "I found it, now what are you going to do?" Elijah's mind was racing. He had to call the police. Right away. This could be a murder scene, or a very old grave. Either way, he had to report it to the authorities, but he had a feeling. A bad feeling. This town was already hostile towards him. What about the police? What if they were too... No, you're being paranoid, Elijah. Just call, report it. Do your duty. He took out his phone. He dialed the Willow Creek Sheriff's number. After 3 rings, a woman's voice answered. "Sheriff's Department, this is Sandra speaking." "Yes, this is Elijah Brooks. I found something in the woods, a grave, I think. There are human bones." The silence on the other end was uncomfortable. Then the woman spoke. "Where exactly are you?" "On Old Creek Trail, about 2 kilometers north of my cabin. There's an old cross in the bushes. Stay there. The sheriff is on his way." The line went dead. Elijah waited. Shadow sat beside him. Elijah stroked the dog's head. "Good job, buddy. But I wish you'd found something else." Shadow pricked up his ears. He didn't understand, of course, but he sensed his master's stress. He rested his head against Elijah's hand. 20 minutes later, the sound of engines could be heard. An SUV pulled up from the forest road and stopped. 2 people got out. One was Sheriff Tom Dalton. He was a 60-year-old chubby white man who always wore a skeptical expression on his face. The other was his deputy, Deputy Harris. He was young and athletic, but his eyes held the same coldness. "Mr. Brooks," Sheriff Dalton said as he approached, "what did you find?" Elijah showed him. My dog dug it up. "A cross and bones." The sheriff bent down and looked. His expression didn't change, as if he'd seen this before. As if he wasn't surprised. "It's an old grave," he said. "Probably from the 1800s. They're common around here. Settler times. But Sheriff, this is a hidden grave, not official. And the bones don't look that old." Dalton stood up. He looked at Elijah. There was something in that look. A warning? A threat? "Are you a forensic expert, Mr. Brooks?" "No, but I was in the military." "I have field experience. Military experience doesn't count here. I'm the sheriff. I decide what it is." He turned to his deputy. "Harris, set up the tape. This is a crime scene. We'll bring in someone from forensics." Harris pulled out the tape. He stretched the yellow and black crime scene do not cross tape across the trees. Sheriff Dalton turned to Elijah. "You can go now. We'll call you if we need you. Don't I have to give a statement as a witness?" "You already did. Your dog dug, you found the bone, you called us. Anything else?" Elijah hesitated. He wanted to say something, but what? "No." "Well then, have a good day, Mr. Brooks." Elijah left. Shadow was by his side. But as he turned, he looked back once more. Sheriff Dalton and Deputy Harris were standing by the grave, whispering to each other. And there was an expression on the sheriff's face. Not worry, anger. When he returned to the cabin, Elijah was restless. He sat down, clasped his hands. Shadow lay down at his feet. "You feel it too, don't you?" he said to the dog. Something's wrong here. He couldn't sleep that night. He thought, whose bones were these? Why were they buried in the woods? Why was the sheriff so indifferent? Or was he not indifferent but already knew? Was this an old secret? A forgotten murder? He got up early the next morning. He decided to go to the town library. Maybe he'd find something in the old newspapers. Missing persons, unsolved murders. Fair clue. The Willow Creek Public Library was a small old building. When he entered, the elderly librarian, Mrs. Marlene, gave him a cold look. "How can I help you?" Her voice was distant. "Can I look at the old newspapers? From the 1950s and 60s. Marlene narrowed her eyes. "Why?" "Research. Town history." The woman hesitated. Then she nodded toward the back. "The archives are there. Don't touch the files, just look." Elijah went to the archive room. The old newspaper collections were on dusty shelves. The Willow Creek Gazette had been published since the 1940s. He began a systematic search. 1950, 1951, 1952. He stopped at 1958. The front page headline read, "Local Black Man Missing Wanted." The photo showed a young black man, handsome, smiling. It read, "Thomas Jefferson Williams, 28, hasn't been seen in 3 days. Family concerned." Elijah's heart raced. He continued reading. Thomas was a carpenter in town, well known. He came from a respectable family, but one day he disappeared. The police searched but couldn't find him. There were a few more reports in the following weeks. Thomas Williams still missing. Police no clues. Then silence. Nothing. The case was closed. The missing person file was closed. Elijah photocopied the page. Then he dug deeper. He researched the rest of 1958, and he found something else. A small news item, tucked away in a corner, written as if it were insignificant. "False alarm, Williams may have fled north." The author of the article cited an official from the sheriff's department. The official said Thomas had gone north to escape his debts. The family denied it, but no one listened. The case was closed. Something occurred to Elijah. Was Sheriff Dalton's grandfather sheriff at the time? He checked. Yes, Sheriff George Dalton was in office in the 1950s. Tom Dalton's grandfather, a family legacy, was a secret being passed down from generation to generation. As he left the library, Mrs. Marlene looked at him. "Did you find what you were looking for?" Elijah paused. There was something in the woman's eyes. Fear? Maybe, he said. Sometimes the past should stay in the past, Mr. Brooks. The woman's voice trembled. Some stones are better left unturned. Why? Because what comes out from under them devours everyone. When Elijah returned to the cabin, there was something at his door. A white envelope. Inside, a handwritten note. Mind your own business. Get out of here. Final warning. His hand trembled as he held the note. Shadow growled. He sensed danger. Elijah looked around. The forest was silent, but someone was watching. Someone knew. And that night in his dream he saw not Afghanistan but the Willow Creek forest. But there was war in the forest. Another war. The war of a man beaten, begged, then hanged in 1958. And Elijah's job was to end that war. Early the next morning, he went to the police. Sheriff Dalton sat at his desk. Elijah handed him the note. Someone is threatening me. Dalton read it. He shrugged. Probably a joke. A joke. I found a murder scene. The next day a threatening note arrives and you... It's not a murder scene. Dalton jumped to his feet. His voice boomed. Then he composed himself. Well, we don't know yet. The coroner's report hasn't come in. When will it come in? It'll take a few weeks. A few weeks? This is a murder investigation. It should be prioritized. Are you telling me how to do my job? Dalton's face flushed. Listen, Mr. Brooks, you're new here. You don't know this town, its people. Some things are complicated. Like what? History? Family ties, honor. Dalton leaned in, looking Elijah straight in the eye. And things an outsider like you shouldn't meddle in. Elijah didn't back down. I'm an American citizen. I live here. If I see a crime, I have a right to pursue it. A right. Dalton laughed. It was a bitter laugh. Let me remind you of something, Mr. Brooks. In this town, everyone knows each other. Families, grandparents, they're all connected. You're alone, with a dog. Think about it. Which one of you is stronger? The threat was clear. Elijah's fists clenched. But he did nothing. Military discipline. Stay calm, analyze, plan. I understand, he said. He turned and walked to the door. But he stopped at the threshold. Sheriff, I have a question. In 1958, a man named Thomas Jefferson Williams disappeared. You never found him. Now there's a body in the woods. Don't you wonder? Could it be him? Dalton's face turned to stone. Get out of here. Elijah left. Shadow was waiting. They walked together. Elijah's mind was racing. What should he do? Who could he trust? This was a small town. Everyone was connected. The sheriff, the town council, the business owners, they were all from the same families. Maybe they all knew. Maybe they were all protecting him, but Elijah wasn't afraid. He had walked under bombs in Afghanistan. He would walk here too, because the bone Shadow had found wasn't just a bone. It was a man. Thomas Jefferson Williams. He had a family too. He had a story. And Elijah was going to tell that story. As he walked through the town square, people stared at him. They whispered. An old man sitting on a bench spoke loudly. Something should be forgotten, son. For your own good. Elijah stopped. Forgetting is not forgiving, he said. Forgetting is betrayal. The man fell silent. But there was something in his eyes. Pain, regret? Elijah walked on. Shadow was by his side. Two lonely warriors in a quiet town at the beginning of a quiet war. And they would win this war because some truths cannot stay buried. No matter how deep you bury them, sooner or later a dog will come, dig them up and show them to the world. Shadow had found the cross. Now Elijah would find justice. Sitting in the cabin that night, Elijah looked at the photograph of Thomas Jefferson Williams. The smiling young man, the man with a future. But his future had been stolen. Left to rot in the woods beneath a cross. I will remember you, Elijah whispered, and I will tell your story. I promise. Shadow lifted his head. He looked at Elijah, and in that look was understanding. The dog knew this wasn't just about a bone. This was about justice, and together they would see it through to the end. He looked out the window. The town lights glowed in the distance. It looked peaceful. But Elijah knew the peace was a lie. Beneath it lay a dark past. Blood, tears, and silence. Tomorrow he would go back to the grave. He would dig deeper. He would find Thomas's family. He would demand answers. And this town, whether it accepted it or not, would pay. Shadow came to his side. He rested his head on Elijah's hand. Elijah stroked him. "Are you ready, buddy?" he said. "Because things are going to get tough." "But we won't give up, right?" Shadow wagged his tail. He was ready. He was always ready. Elijah smiled. For the first time in months, he truly smiled, because he had a purpose. He wasn't just running from the trauma of war anymore. He was fighting for something. For justice. For truth. And sometimes the strongest soldiers of truth are the most wounded veterans of war. Because they know injustice that is forgotten must never be forgotten. Elijah got up and opened the map. He would find Thomas Williams' old address. Was his family still there? Or had they also migrated, fled? He didn't know. But he would find out. At dawn, with the first light, he would set out. Shadow and him. Two heroes. Silent, determined, and a stone hit the door. Elijah flinched. Shadow growled. There were sounds from outside, shouts. No whispers. Elijah turned off the lights. He looked out the window. In the darkness, there were three shadows. Their faces were invisible, but their hands were visible, sticks, stones, and someone was preparing a Molotov cocktail. Elijah's breath caught. It was happening so fast. It had only been 2 days. And now, an attack, a lynching? History was repeating itself. What had been done to Thomas in 1958, would it now be done to him? Now Elijah grabbed the phone. He dialed 911. "My house is under attack, 47 Old Creek Road, please." A voice came over the line. "Wrong number." It hung up, wrong number. "Did he dial 911? He tried again. Same voice, wrong number. He understood. They were in the system. Even the 911 operator was one of them. All right. Elijah sprang into action. Military mode activated. He quickly gathered his things. He put Shadow's leash on. He would exit through the back door. He would flee into the forest. He would wait until morning. But just as he was opening the door, he heard a voice outside. A woman's voice, an old woman. "Stop, what are you doing?" Elijah looked out the window. An old woman, black, stood in front of the shadows with her cane. He recognized her. Mrs. Eunice, the grandmother of one of the few elderly black families living in town. One of the shadows spoke. "Move, Eunice. This is none of your business." "It is my business. What did that man do to you? Are you going to kill him because his dog found a bone?" "That bone. It's nothing. An old thing. Don't get involved." "That bone was Thomas's bone," Eunice's voice trembled. But she was strong. "Your grandfather hanged him, and now you're going to kill another man to cover it up." Silence. Then one of the shadows dropped the Molotov cocktail on the ground. "Go home, Eunice." They turned and left. All three disappeared into the darkness. Eunice swayed where she stood. She dropped her cane. Elijah immediately rushed outside. He caught the woman. "Are you okay?" Eunice was gasping for breath. But she smiled. "I'm fine, son, but you're not. You're in danger." "Why did you protect me?" "Because once again I cannot allow someone to die in silence." Her eyes filled with tears. "Thomas was my cousin. They hanged him in 1958. And nobody did anything. Everyone was afraid. I was afraid too, but now I'm too old. I have nothing left to fear, only regrets remain." Elijah brought her inside. He made tea. The woman talked. For hours. She told him everything. Thomas had talked to a white woman. Just talked. He had been polite, but her brothers had seen him. They were angry. That night they kidnapped Thomas. They beat him. Then they took him to the woods. And there, they hanged him from a tree. Sheriff George Dalton was there. He watched. In fact, he was one of the men who threw the rope. Then they buried Thomas's body. They erected a cross. His family searched for him. The police said he had run away. No one believed it. But there was no evidence, no witnesses, only fear. Years passed. The secret remained buried. Just like Thomas. "Now you've found it," said Eunice. "And they're scared. Because their children, their grandchildren are still here. The sheriff, the mayor, the judge. They're all children of those families. If the truth comes out, they're all finished." Elijah nodded. Everything was clear now. "What should I do?" "Fight, son, but fight smart. You won't find justice here. Go outside. The media, the state police, the FBI. Bring them here. How? I need evidence. Eunice closed her eyes. She took a deep breath. Thomas's mother gave me something before she died. She asked me to keep it. She said it might be useful one day. She took an old envelope out of her pocket. Inside was a photograph, black and white. Blurry, but you could see it. In the photo there was a group of white men in the woods, with ropes in their hands, and hanging from a tree, a black man, Thomas. In the background a young man stood, in uniform, a deputy sheriff. His face was clear. George Dalton, Elijah's hand trembled. This is evidence. Yes, but it's not enough on its own. We need bones, a DNA test, a forensic report. The sheriff is blocking the report. Then you have to find another way, Elijah thought. A plan was forming. Tomorrow he would go to the state police, to the capital, Helena. He would show them this photo. He would get an investigation opened, then the media, newspapers, TV. This story had to go national. But first, he had to do one more thing. The next morning he went to Thomas's grave. The tape was still there. But Elijah walked past it. Shadow was with him. He knelt at the head of the grave. Thomas Jefferson Williams, he said aloud. Your name will not be forgotten. Your story will be told, and your killers will be held accountable, I promise. Shadow sat down beside him. He rested his head on Elijah's knee. They stayed like that. 1 minute, 2 minutes. Silent respect. Then Elijah got up. He turned and walked away. But as he left, he heard something. Footsteps. He turned around. Sheriff Dalton was standing there, gun in hand, aimed. I told you, stay out of this. Elijah froze. Shadow growled. You're going to shoot me? Here? Out in the open? No one's watching. We'll call it a hunting accident. Animal attack. You're a wounded veteran. You have PTSD. You hurt yourself. There's evidence. The photo. People will know. What photo? Dalton grinned. Eunice's house burned down this morning. Unfortunately, the old woman was inside, along with everything in her house. Elijah's heart stopped. No. Yes. And now you're going to have an accident too. I'm sorry, Mr. Brooks, but this town's peace is more important than your life. Dalton pulled the trigger. The gunshot tore through the forest. Elijah closed his eyes, but the pain didn't come. Death didn't come. Just a roar, then silence. When he opened his eyes, he saw Shadow was on top of Sheriff Dalton. The dog had leaped into the air the moment the man fired the gun, biting his arm. The gun had fired into the air. Now Dalton was on the ground, Shadow's teeth an inch from his throat. The dog's eyes were wild. It was ready to kill. Shadow, stay! Elijah's voice commanded. The dog froze instantly, but it didn't leave Dalton. It stood over him, making him feel like every movement could be his last. Elijah approached, picked up the gun from the ground. He looked at Dalton. The sheriff's face was pale with fear. His hands were shaking. Get your dog away. Why shouldn't I? Elijah's voice was cold. You tried to kill me. Shadow was just protecting me, self-defense. He saw the panic in Dalton's eyes. The man was helpless. But I'm not like you. Elijah emptied the gun, put the bullets in his pocket, and threw the empty gun at Dalton's side. Shadow, come. The dog backed away. He came to Elijah's side. Dalton tried to get up. Blood flowed from his arm. This is assault. I'll have your dog killed. Go ahead. But first know this. Eunice's house may be burned down, but I have the photo. I made a copy. And tomorrow I'm going to Helena. I'll talk to the state police. I'll call the FBI. And I'll tell everyone what your grandfather did, what you did. Elijah approached. He looked Dalton in the face. You silenced Thomas in 1958. You won't silence me in 2024. No words came out of Dalton's mouth. Only hatred filled his eyes. Elijah turned. Come on, Shadow. The two walked into the forest. They didn't look back. When they reached the cabin, Elijah sprang into action. He gathered his things. His computer, his files, Thomas's photo. He stuffed everything into a bag. He couldn't stay here any longer. Dalton was probably calling for backup. What if more armed men came? No, he had to leave. But first, he had to do something. He took out his phone. He took a photo of Thomas's lynching. Then he wrote a long message. He told everything. The grave, the threats, Eunice, Dalton, everything. Then he sent it to many addresses, local newspapers, national media, civil rights organizations, the FBI tip line. He pressed send. The secret was no longer his alone. Now everyone would know. Then he got in the car. Shadow sat next to him. The engine started. They left Willow Creek. It was midnight. The roads were empty. Elijah looked in the rearview mirror. Was anyone following? No, not yet, but they would be. He knew it. After an hour's drive, he arrived at a small motel. He paid cash without giving his name. He entered the room. Shadow immediately lay down on the bed. He was tired. So was Elijah, but he couldn't sleep. He was thinking. Was Eunice really dead? Or was Dalton bluffing? He didn't know. But he would find out tomorrow. By morning, the news had exploded. When he opened his phone, he saw dozens of notifications. The message he had sent had spread. First a local newspaper, then a state newspaper, then national news sites. Secret lynching grave found in Montana. 1958 murder mystery comes to light. Veteran and his dog expose historical injustice. His phone rang. Unknown number. He answered. Mr. Brooks? This is Agent Sarah Kendrick, FBI. We need to talk about the information you sent. Where are you? Elijah hesitated. Could he trust her? Let me ask you this first. In Willow Creek, there was an elderly woman named Eunice. Did her house burn down? The silence on the other end stretched. Then the woman spoke. Yes, last night. The woman, she died. I'm sorry. Elijah's eyes filled with tears. Eunice, the woman who tried to save him. The woman who told him the truth. She was dead. Dalton wasn't bluffing. He really had killed her. Murder, Elijah said. Arson. Sheriff Dalton did it. This is a serious accusation. Do you have any evidence? He told me. Yesterday in the woods while pointing a gun. He confessed everything. Okay, now be careful. Go to your hiding place. Don't tell anyone where you are. I'll send a team. We'll get you under protection. Your testimony is very important. Elijah hung up the phone. The FBI was coming. He wasn't alone anymore, but still, Eunice was gone. A price had been paid, and more would be paid, because Willow Creek would not stay silent. 2 days later, the town was in chaos. FBI teams had arrived. The grave had been dug up. The bones had been removed. The forensic team was examining them. And the media? The media was everywhere. Cameras, reporters, live broadcasts. Headlines read, Willow Creek lynching scandal. Elijah was under FBI protection, far from the town in a safe house, but he was following the news. He saw Sheriff Dalton had resigned. He was under investigation. Eunice's death was being investigated as a homicide. And most importantly, Thomas Jefferson Williams' family had been found. He had a grandson. His name was Marcus Williams. He was 60 years old. He lived in Atlanta. He had always known his grandfather was missing. But learning the truth, the news devastated him. He gave a television interview. In tears, my grandfather was a man, not a criminal. But they hung him like an animal. Because he was black, because he spoke at the wrong time in the wrong place. And this town hid it for 66 years. Watching that interview, Elijah's heart broke. He felt Marcus's pain, because he knew it too. Injustice does not expire. Generations pass, but the pain remains. The FBI forensic report arrived. The bones definitely belonged to Thomas Jefferson Williams. The DNA matched his grandson Marcus. Cause of death, broken neck hanging, and on the bones, signs of beating. Thomas had been beaten before he was hanged. He had been tortured. The men in the photograph were being identified. George Dalton was already known. But there were others. From prominent families in town, businessmen, farmers. They were all there that night. They were all guilty. And now their grandsons were alive. Sheriff Tom Dalton, Mayor Richard Hayes, real estate agent John Preston. They were all grandsons of the men who were in the woods that night. And they all knew. Maybe it wasn't said directly, but there was a silence in their families. A subject that wasn't asked about. What happened to your grandfather that year? Don't ask. But now it was being asked. And the answer had divided the town in two. One group, especially the elders, had taken a defensive stance. The past should stay in the past. Those people are dead. Why are we bringing it up now? You're destroying this town. But another group, the younger generation, was angry. It's shameful. Justice must come even if it's late. We must confront this town's dark past. A meeting was held in the church, crowded, tense. Elijah attended with FBI permission. Shadow was by his side. When they entered, silence fell. Everyone looked at him. Some with hatred, some with gratitude. Mayor Richard Hayes took the podium. His voice trembled. Mr. Brooks, your discovery has put this town in a difficult position. A tragedy from the past is disrupting our peace today. Elijah stood up. So did Shadow. Peace, he said. His voice was calm but sharp. What peace? While a man's bones rot underground? While his family lived for 66 years without knowing? While the killers lived and died in peace? That's not peace. That's silence, and silence is complicity. An old man jumped to his feet. Who are you to come here and judge us? We weren't there. No, you weren't, but you hid it. You protected it. And now, it's time to pay. What do you want from us? Hayes asked. Elijah took a deep breath. The truth. An apology, justice. A memorial for Thomas Jefferson Williams. For his name not to be forgotten, and he paused. He looked at Marcus Williams. The man was sitting in the back row. His eyes were filled with tears. And compensation for his family. Not financial, moral. As a community, admit the injustice you did. Hayes was silent. Then he shook his head. We'll talk. But I can't guarantee anything. The meeting dispersed. But something had changed. The silence was broken. People were talking, arguing, and some were apologizing. An elderly woman approached Elijah. Mr. Brooks, I'm Sarah Hayes, Richard's mother, and my grandfather was there that night. I knew. I heard about it when I was little, but I was afraid. I didn't say anything. I'm sorry. Elijah looked at the woman. Her tears were sincere. Tell them now. Go to the FBI, give your statement. It's not too late. The woman nodded. I will. That day 5 more people came forward, all elderly. All had heard or seen something in their families. They spoke. They gave statements. The secret had grown too big to bury, but not everyone was happy. Dalton's supporters blamed Elijah. He divided the town. He disrupted the peace. What good comes from an old grave? The threats continued. But Elijah was protected now. The FBI kept him safe. One night, Marcus Williams called. Mr. Brooks, can I speak with you? Sure. They met in a small cafe. Marcus was an old but strong man. His eyes held the shadow of his grandfather. Thank you, he said. For my grandfather. For finding him. Shadow found him. I just continued. But you had the courage. You received threats, your life was in danger, but you didn't give up. Why? Elijah thought, why? Because I also know someone who is lost. In Afghanistan, my teammate died. A bomb. We couldn't find his body. His family couldn't have closure. Me too. And since that day, something's been missing. Maybe by finding Thomas, I honored my own losses too. Marcus nodded. He understood. Can I see my grandfather's grave? Of course. The next day they went to the forest together. The FBI had given permission. The grave was no longer under forensic investigation. Thomas's bones would be given to his family for burial, but the gravesite was still there. Ribbons, flowers, candles. People had come, paid their respects. Marcus knelt at the grave. He cried. Elijah stood beside him. Shadow, too. The 3 waited silently. The pain had been spread out over time. But now finally it was being expressed. Marcus stood up. We'll hold the funeral. Not in Istanbul, but here, in Willow Creek. He died in the woods, but he'll be buried in town. No one will forget. Right decision. On the way back, Marcus asked, what happens now? Will there be a trial? The FBI is investigating. Eunice's death was murder. Dalton will be charged, but for lynching, 66 years have passed. There's a statute of limitations. The killers are dead. Criminal prosecution is difficult, but not legal. We can file a civil suit. Do it. The town, the municipality, the families, they're all responsible. Marcus was determined. I will, not just for the money, for the principle, for justice. It went on for weeks. The town was like a war zone. Supporters and opponents, media pressure, national attention. Willow Creek was no longer a quiet little town. It had become the center of shame, and one night there was an attack on the house where Elijah was staying. Molotov cocktails. Windows were broken. A fire started. But Shadow and Elijah escaped in time. FBI agents intervened. The attackers were caught. All three were young, in their 20s, looking at their names. Familiar surnames. Dalton, Hayes, Preston, grandchildren. They were trying to protect their grandfather's sins, but fear could no longer rule. The system was in motion. Justice was slow, but it was working. The FBI found enough evidence to charge Dalton with Eunice's murder. Phone records, witness statements, forensic evidence. Dalton was arrested. He was brought to trial. And for the first time in Willow Creek, a white man was tried for a crime against a black man. At the trial, Elijah testified. He told everything. Dalton's confession, the threats, the drawing of the gun. The jury listened. The prosecutor proved that Eunice's murder was to protect Thomas's secret. This isn't just a fire. This is the final link in a 66-year chain of crime. Dalton was found guilty. Murder, arson, threats, a total of 25 years in prison. When the verdict was announced, Marcus cried. Elijah too. Justice was late, but it had come, but it wasn't over. Thomas's funeral would be held at the town cemetery. Official, honorable, everyone was invited. On the day of the funeral, hundreds of people came. Townspeople, outsiders, the media. Marcus spoke. My grandfather was murdered in 1958. He was innocent. His only crime was being black, but he became history. And today his name is a symbol of justice's victory. Elijah also took the podium. Shadow was beside him. I came to Willow Creek seeking peace. But what I found was a war between the past and the present. And in this war, a dog, a cross, and a man's bones set the truth free. Thomas Jefferson Williams will never be forgotten. His name will be remembered every day in this town. Because some truths cannot be buried, the coffin was lowered into the ground. The headstone was erected. Thomas Jefferson Williams. 1930-1958. Justice was late, but it came. After the ceremony, the people dispersed. Elijah said goodbye to Marcus. What are you going to do now? Marcus asked. I don't know, maybe. Stay. Here, I'll keep trying to change this town. It'll be hard, I know. But Shadow and I, we like tough jobs. Marcus smiled. My grandfather would have been grateful to you. And I to him. Marcus left. Elijah and Shadow stayed in the cemetery. The sun was setting. The forest was silent, but this time the silence was peaceful. Because the truth had spoken. Elijah looked at Thomas's grave one last time. Rest in peace, he whispered. Shadow sat down beside him. They just stood there, two heroes, silent but victorious. Because sometimes justice's strongest soldiers come from the most unexpected places. A veteran, a dog, and a buried truth. As evening fell, Elijah returned to his cabin. No, it wasn't there anymore. It had been burned down, but the town had given him a house. The city council, as an apology, small but warm. Shadow came inside. Elijah looked out the window. The lights of Willow Creek were on. Still the same town, but different. The truth lived here now. The phone rang. FBI Agent Kendrick. Mr. Brooks, congratulations. Your case has become a historic turning point across the state. Thank you. But this is only the beginning. How many more Thomases are there? Good. You're awake. He hung up. Shadow came over. Elijah stroked him. Are you ready, buddy? Because we're not done yet. There are other Thomases, other graves, and we'll find them. Shadow wagged his tail. Willow Creek would never be the same again. But maybe that was for the best. Willow Creek was now two towns. On the same streets, different realities existed. On one side, those who accepted the past. The younger generation, those who apologized, those who wanted change. On the other side, resistance. The elderly, the middle-aged, silenced by fear, and those whose families were tainted. These two worlds collided silently every day. Elijah was right in the middle. He had unwittingly become the leader of a movement. Shadow was always by his side, but this time the battle was fought not with bullets, but with words. A week later, the town council called an emergency meeting. The topic: the Thomas Jefferson Williams Memorial. Marcus Williams had requested an official memorial for the town. The gravestone in the cemetery was not enough. In the town square, somewhere everyone could see it, a statue, a plaque, a reminder. A murder was committed here. We will not forget. The meeting hall was packed. Elijah sat in the back row, Shadow at his feet. Marcus was at the podium. Mayor Richard Hayes stood opposite him. The tension was palpable. "Mr. Williams," Hayes said. His voice was weary. "I understand your idea for a memorial, but the town budget is tight and it will deepen the social divide." "Budget?" Marcus's voice sharpened. "Your township knew about that grave for years, hid it. Now you want to apologize financially, but there's no money for a memorial." Murmurs rose in the hall. Some supported Marcus, some opposed him. An old man stood up. "This monument will make our town a symbol of shame. Tourists will come and call us a lynch mob town." "Because you are," a young woman shouted. "Admitting it is the first step. The monument is remorse, it's change." The debate flared up. Hayes blew his whistle. "Please, let's vote. Should we allocate a budget for the monument?" The council members voted. There were 7 of them. 4 were white, 3 were from different ethnic backgrounds. The result? 4-3. No. The monument was rejected. Marcus shook his head. He had expected it, but the pain was still sharp. "I understand," he said. His voice was calm, but his eyes flashed with anger. "If the town won't do it, we will. Community donation. Private property, without your permission." Hayes hesitated. "You can do it on private property, but we won't allow it on public land." "Don't give it. We'll do it anyway." Marcus left. Elijah followed him out. Outside, the cold air stung their faces. "I'm sorry," Elijah said. "I knew it would happen, but I had to try." Marcus looked up at the sky. "You know, when my grandfather died, the detectives didn't mark the grave. They didn't even care. Now we, 70 years later, want a memorial. And still no. History repeats itself." "No," Elijah said. "Your family was alone before, not anymore. We are here. The community is here. Change is slow, but it's coming." Marcus nodded. "You're right. And we'll start a campaign. GoFundMe, social media, national attention. If Willow Creek won't build the monument, America will." The next day the campaign began, called Justice Monument for Thomas. Goal, $100,000. A statue, a plaque, a small park. Marcus showed his face. He told the story. "My grandfather was lynched just because he was black. His town hid it, but we can't hide it anymore. Help us, let's erect his memorial." On the first day, $5,000 was raised. On the second day, $15,000. On the third day, national media picked it up. CNN, MSNBC, Fox News. They were all in Willow Creek. Reporters, interviews, live broadcasts. The town was on the world stage and Elijah was at the center, whether he wanted to be or not. Every day, he was in front of the camera. "Mr. Brooks, you found this grave. How do you feel?" "As a veteran, how do you deal with this injustice?" "Is Shadow your hero?" Elijah answered. Calm, clear. Shadow was a hero, but the real heroes were Thomas's family. They waited 66 years for justice. And Eunice. She was killed for telling the truth. They are the heroes. But not everyone was happy. Resistance in the town was growing stronger. One night, spray paint appeared on Elijah's wall. "Traitor, get out." When he saw it in the morning, Shadow growled. Elijah remained calm. He took a photo. He shared it on social media. "The hate hasn't stopped, but neither will we." Messages of support poured in, but so did threats. The phone rang in the middle of the night. Anonymous voices. "We'll kill you. We'll kill Shadow. Give this up." Elijah reported it to the FBI. The numbers were traced, but most were from anonymous lines, untraceable. Agent Kendrick said, "If you want protection, we can provide it." "No, if I'm afraid they win. You're brave." "I'm not. I'm just tired of running. I ran in Afghanistan. I ran here. I'm stopping now. This is the end." Kendrick understood. "Okay, but be careful. Take good care of Shadow. He's your security system." He was right. Shadow was Elijah's guard. While Elijah slept at night, the dog stayed awake. Ears pricked, eyes open. The slightest sound, movement. One night, he heard footsteps outside. 3 people, approaching silently. Shadow growled. Elijah woke up. He grabbed his gun. He approached the door. Outside, whispers. Break down the door. Be quiet. There's a dog. Elijah called 911. This time, the system worked. The FBI was on it. Operator, help is on the way. But the men were in a hurry. The door was kicked. Once, twice. On the 3rd kick, it split open. They entered, masked, armed. Shadow didn't wait. He lunged. He hit the first man. They fell to the ground. The dog bit the man's arm, a scream. The second man aimed at the dog. No. Elijah intervened. He fired his own gun. At the ceiling. A warning. Drop your weapons! The men panicked. The first one tried to get away from Shadow. The second turned his gun on Elijah. The third was running away. Police sirens were coming. Very close. The men understood. Time was up. The second man fired. Not at Elijah. At Shadow, the dog howled in pain. Fell. Shadow! Elijah screamed. The men fled. They bolted outside. Car noise. Tire screech. They were gone. Elijah ran to Shadow. The dog was on the ground, bleeding. He'd been shot in the leg. No, no, no. Hang in there, buddy. Help is coming. The police arrived, an ambulance. But it wasn't an animal ambulance. We need a vet. Elijah yelled. A cop helped. My car. We'll take him to the clinic right away. They carried Shadow. The car sped off. The vet clinic was closed at night. But Elijah knocked on the door. He kicked it. Please. My dog is dying. An old man came out from inside. Dr. Harris, he was the town vet. He recognized Elijah. Bring him in. The surgery began. Elijah waited outside. His hands were shaking. He had lost friends in Afghanistan. Was he going to lose Shadow now? No, this dog wasn't just a dog. He was his life companion, his savior, his purpose. 2 hours later, Dr. Harris came out. He was tired, but he was smiling. We saved him. The bullet went through his leg. The bone isn't broken. He'll recover. Elijah fell to his knees. Tears came, relief. Thank you, thank you. He's a strong dog. A fighter. Just like his owner, he could see Shadow. The dog was sleeping. He was under anesthesia. His leg was bandaged, but he was breathing. He was alive. Elijah sat down beside him. He placed his hand on Shadow's head. You saved me. Now I saved you. We're together, buddy. Until the end. By morning, news of the attack broke. Armed attack on veteran and dog. Shadow shot but alive. Violence escalating in Willow Creek. A wave of national outrage rose. People poured into the streets. Protest. Justice for Elijah. Justice for Shadow. Marcus joined the army. Enough is enough, he told the cameras. Will a man or dog be targeted just for telling the truth? No, we will stand here, and that day change accelerated. The governor made a statement. The Willow Creek incidents are under state investigation. Violence will not be tolerated. The federal prosecutor made a statement. A hate crime investigation has been launched. The perpetrators will be found, and most importantly, the memorial campaign exploded. The $100,000 goal was surpassed in a day. $250,000, $500,000, $750,000. People weren't just sending money. They were sending messages. We stand with Shadow. We stand with Elijah. We stand with the truth. A week later, Shadow was recovering. His leg was bandaged, but he was walking. Elijah took him out for walks 3 times a day. Townspeople stopped to pet him. Hero dog. Get well soon, Shadow. Children came to pet him. Shadow waited patiently. Each time his tail wagged. But one night a strange visitor arrived. An old man, bearded, stooped. He knocked on the door. Elijah opened it. Shadow was beside him. He didn't growl. He just looked intently. Mr. Brooks, said the man. His voice was raspy. I'm Frank Preston, John Preston's father. Town councilman. Elijah recognized him. He was from the Preston family. In 1958, a Preston had been there. In the woods, at the foot of the cross. What do you want? He asked coldly. To talk. Just talk, Elijah hesitated. But the man was old. He was alone. He was unarmed. Come in. They came in. Frank sat down. His hands were shaking. I came to apologize. Why? Because I knew. I always knew. Frank's eyes filled with tears. My father was there in 1958. I was a child, 12 years old, but I heard. He came home drunk that night. He cried. We did something, he said. Something terrible. The next day I asked. He looked at me angrily. Forget it, he said. Don't ask. And did you forget? No, but I kept quiet. For years. My father died. I grew up. I got married. I had children. But I always knew I felt guilty. And now you came. You uncovered the truth. And I couldn't take it anymore. I can't keep quiet anymore. Elijah looked at him. The man was sincere. What do you want from me? Your forgiveness. I'm not the one to forgive. Go to Marcus Williams. His grandfather was murdered. I will. But I wanted to tell you first. You started this. You gave me the courage. And I owe you. Frank stood up. To leave. But Elijah stopped him. Mr. Preston, I have one question. How many others knew? Like you? Frank paused. He thought. At least 10 families. Children, grandchildren. They all heard something, but they all kept quiet. Why aren't they speaking up now? Out of fear. Out of shame. To protect their families, but maybe if you speak up they will too. I am speaking up. No, what I mean is a platform, public, a meeting. A truth and reconciliation meeting. People could come, listen, speak. They could even be anonymous. But they should speak. Elijah thought about it. It was a good idea. Tell Marcus. He can organize it. Frank nodded. He left. The next day Marcus heard about the idea. He liked it. We'll have a meeting. At the church. Everyone's invited. The victims' families, witnesses, those who are sorry, everyone. The news spread. The Truth and Reconciliation meeting, Willow Creek. A date was set. 1 week later, but the town was still divided. Some supported it. Finally, accountability. Some opposed it. A witch hunt. They'll destroy families. The night of the meeting arrived. The church was packed. 300 people. Elijah and Shadow were in the front row. Marcus was at the podium. The moderator was a national civil rights activist. Her name was Reverend Carol Johnson. She was experienced. Tonight, she said, there are no rules. Truth is real. Those who want to speak, speak. Those who want to listen, listen. The goal healing. Marcus spoke first. He told his grandfather's story. His eyes were teary. My grandfather was a carpenter. A good man. But one night people hung him like a criminal. And this town kept it hidden for 66 years. It can't be hidden anymore. Applause, tears. Second, Frank Preston. My father was there. I knew it. I kept quiet. I'm sorry. Silence. Heavy. Third, Sarah Hayes. My grandfather too. I knew I was afraid, but now I'm speaking up. Fourth, fifth. One by one they came. 10 people. They all said the same thing. My family knew. I kept quiet. Now I'm speaking up, but then a man stood up. Young, in his 30s, angry. That's a lie. Our grandfathers were heroes. Now you're demonizing them. Maybe Thomas was guilty. Guilty of what? Marcus snapped. Is being black a crime? No, but... He approached that white woman. Maybe he harassed her. Maybe. Is there evidence? Witnesses? Or is it just your grandfather's lie? The man fell silent. I don't know. But you can't make my grandfather guilty. Your grandfather lynched him. He is guilty, the man shouted. He ran out of the hall. A few others followed him, but the majority stayed, and they continued talking. At the end of the night, a decision was made. The monument will be open to the public. Even if the town council rejects it, we will do it. We will find private land. We will buy it. We will erect it. And there was already enough money for the campaign. $800,000 had been raised. The land, the statue, the park. It would all happen. When Elijah returned home, he was at peace. Change was happening. Slowly, but it was happening. Shadow came to him. His leg was healing. Elijah stroked him. See, buddy? People are talking. The truth is spreading. That bone you found, it started a revolution. Shadow wagged his tail. But that night the phone rang. It was Marcus. His voice was trembling. Elijah, I found something else. What? I scanned old newspapers. Before 1958, 1955, another missing person, another black man. His name was Robert Hayes, never found. Elijah's heart raced. What are you saying? I'm saying Thomas wasn't alone. Maybe there are more. Maybe in Willow Creek. There are multiple secret graves. Silence. We'll comb the forest again tomorrow, Elijah said. Shadow and me. Every inch of ground. I'll come too. Come. The phone hung up. Elijah looked out the window. The forest was dark, but it wasn't scary anymore. It just held more secrets, and Elijah with Shadow would find them all because once the truth started, it couldn't be stopped. Early in the morning, Elijah, Shadow, and Marcus were in the forest. This time they weren't alone. The volunteers had arrived, 20 people, young and old, white and black, all with the same goal: to find the truth, to find Robert Hayes's grave, and maybe the graves of others. Shadow was back in top form. His leg had healed. He was running again, sniffing, searching. Elijah trusted him. If there was another grave, Shadow would find it. They searched for hours. Every bush, every patch of collapsed earth, every suspicious spot, but they found nothing. Around noon, a volunteer called out, "Look here!" Everyone ran over. Under an old mulberry tree, the ground had collapsed, and right in the middle, covered in moss, was a small stone. Not a gravestone, just a marked stone. Letters were carved on it, barely legible. RH 1955, Robert Hayes. Marcus dropped to his knees. "We found it. God, we found it." The FBI was called. Teams arrived. A second grave was dug, and again human bones emerged. Forensic analysis began immediately. DNA samples were taken. Robert Hayes's family would be found. Maybe he had grandchildren. Maybe they too had been searching for answers for 69 years, but the search wasn't over. Because if there were 2 graves, there could be more. The FBI launched an extensive search. Ground radar, dog teams, historical records. Every inch of Willow Creek forest was examined, and 3 days later, a third grave was found. Then a fourth, a total of 6 secret graves. 6 black men, all disappeared in the 1940s and 1950s. None had ever been found. Now they all lay silently in the forest. The news shook the world. Willow Creek, America's secret mass grave. 6 lynching victims, found after 70 years. Veteran and his dog uncover history's darkest secrets. The governor announced a federal investigation. The president made a statement. "This is America's shame. But we can't hide it anymore. We must face it." And Willow Creek underwent a complete transformation. The town council resigned. New elections were held. This time, Marcus Williams and 3 black candidates won. For the first time, minorities were in the majority in town government. Sheriff Dalton was convicted. In his place, an impartial sheriff was brought in from outside, a young, idealistic woman who believed in justice. Her name was Sheriff Maria Santos. Her first task was to clean up the entire department. The old staff left. The new ones came with training in diversity and justice. And the monument would finally be built. But not just for Thomas, for the 6 victims. The Willow Creek Lynching Victims Memorial. The campaign had raised $1.2 million. It was enough. For the memorial, the park, and the education center. With the slogan, "Remember, forgive not, but learn." The day of the ceremony arrived. Hundreds of people gathered in the town square. The national media was there. The grandchildren of the victims' families had come, all in the name of their grandfathers. Elijah and Shadow were in the front row. Marcus took the podium. "Today," he said. His voice was strong. "We honor 6 men. Thomas Jefferson Williams, Robert Hayes, James Carter, Samuel Johnson, William Brown, and David Miller. All innocent, all black, all lynched, and all forgotten, but not anymore. We know their names now. We know their stories. And we will not forget." Applause, tears. The monument cover was removed. 6 silhouettes made of bronze. They were holding hands. It read, "Where there is injustice in one place, justice is in danger everywhere." Elijah spoke too. "I am a veteran. I came here fleeing the war. I was looking for peace. But Shadow showed me something else, truth. And truth is more important than peace, because without truth, peace is just a lie. This town was built on lies. Now it is being rebuilt on truth. It will take time. It will hurt, but It's worth it. Shadow stood beside him. People applauded. But not just for Elijah, for Shadow too. Hero dog! Hero dog! The children shouted. Shadow wagged his tail. He didn't understand what the people were saying. But he felt the love, and he understood love. After the ceremony, there was a surprise. The governor arrived. He approached Elijah and Shadow. Mr. Brooks, Shadow, he said, your service has been not just to Willow Creek, but to all of Montana, to all of America. That's why he pulled out a medal, the Montana Medal of Honor, the highest civilian award, for you and Shadow. Elijah was surprised. I was just doing my job. And your job changed history, he pinned on the medal. Then he pinned a special medallion on Shadow. It read, Shadow, Guardian of Truth. Shadow sniffed the medallion. He wasn't interested. But Elijah was proud. Good work, buddy, he whispered. That evening there was a celebration in town, but Elijah didn't go to the celebration. He returned home. With Shadow, they sat quietly. Elijah looked out the window. 6 months ago he had come here. Lost, broken, hopeless. Now he was different. The wounds were still there. The PTSD hadn't gone away, but now he had meaning. He had a purpose. His phone rang. An unknown number, he answered. Mr. Brooks? This is Linda Carter, James Carter's granddaughter. My grandfather was one of the 6 victims. Yes, I know. My condolences. Thank you. But I'm calling you about something else. There are similar missing persons cases in other states too. Families have been searching for years, but no one is listening. Will you help? Elijah paused. Help? Other missing persons? Other graves? How can I help? With your experience. With Shadow, maybe. We could start an organization. Forgotten Justice. We find the missing black victims. We reunite them with their families. You would be the leader. Elijah thought about it. It was a big responsibility, but it was the right thing to do. Linda, I'm just a man and a dog. I can't start an organization, but you can inspire. You already have. Your story gave hope to hundreds of families. Please think about it. I will. I promise. He hung up. Shadow looked at him, as if asking, what will you say? I don't know, buddy. Maybe this is our mission. Not just Willow Creek, everywhere, every loss, every forgotten justice. Shadow rested his head on Elijah's lap. He was supporting him. A few days later, he made his decision. Yes, he told Linda, Forgotten Justice was established, a non-profit organization. Its purpose, to investigate historical lynching and missing persons cases, find graves, reach out to families. Elijah became the honorary president. Shadow, the mascot. Their logo, a dog, a cross, and underneath the words, the truth cannot be buried. The first case came from Alabama. 1962, a missing black teenager. The second, Mississippi. 1959, the third, Georgia. 1948. In each case, Elijah and Shadow provided consultation. They spoke with families. They coordinated with the FBI, and in some cases, graves were found. Justice was slow, but it was coming. Willow Creek was now a different place. The memorial park received thousands of visitors each week. The education center taught history to students. Lynching isn't just in the past. Its effects are felt today. The town had accepted its shame and was beginning to change, but the biggest change was in the people. Frank Preston visited the memorial park every week to apologize. Sarah Hayes was a guide. She told young people about the past. And the new generation, they were the hope. They didn't see color or race. They only saw humanity. A year later, Elijah and Shadow were still in Willow Creek, but they were no longer alone. They had found a community, a family, and every day they woke up with a new purpose. Calls from all over the world. My grandfather is missing. My grandmother hasn't been found. Can you help? And Elijah said the same thing every time. Yes, we will help, because Shadow had found a cross, but they had found a movement. The movement of justice, the movement of truth, and this movement would not stop. One evening, Elijah was walking in the woods with Shadow. They came to the old burial site. Now there were flowers, candles. People came to pay their respects. Thomas, Elijah said, your story changed the world. And I'm lucky, because Shadow brought me to you. And you taught me to find myself. Shadow sat down beside him. They waited in silence. The forest was peaceful. But this time it was real peace, not a lie. On the way home, Elijah thought about the future. Maybe they would go to other towns. Maybe other shadows would find other graves. Maybe justice would spread everywhere. Maybe the world would change. Or maybe it wouldn't. Maybe there would still be racism. There would still be injustice. But at least people would talk. The truth could no longer be hidden. And this was the beginning. That night, Shadow slept. Elijah watched. The dog's calm breathing, its peaceful face. This dog hadn't just found a cross. It had saved a man. It had changed a town. It had awakened a country. "Thank you, Shadow," Elijah whispered. "You're my hero." Shadow was dreaming. Maybe he was seeing Thomas, maybe Robert, maybe the 6 men. And maybe they were thanking him. "Good job, dog. Good job." When morning came, a new day began. New searches, new cases, new hopes. Elijah and Shadow were ready. They were always ready because the truth never slept. And they were the guardians of the truth. A message had gone out to the world from Willow Creek. Don't forget, maybe don't forgive, but learn, and never, ever, ever be silent again. Elijah looked at the monument one last time. 6 men, hand in hand, bronze, but their spirits free. "Rest in peace," he said. "We are here, in your place. We are fighting," Shadow barked. Once, powerfully, as if to say, we will win, and maybe they would win. Maybe they were winning, in every grave they found, in every truth spoken, in every name not forgotten. Justice was slow, but it was coming. Thanks to a dog, a veteran, and a community, the story didn't end here. It was beginning. Because real stories have no end, they just continue. From generation to generation, from name to name, from grave to grave, and you, yes you, reading, watching, listening to this story, you are part of it too. Because knowing the truth brings responsibility. The responsibility to share. The responsibility to speak. The responsibility to never forget. Elijah and Shadow's journey continues in your hands. With every share. With every comment. Every time you say never again, this is not just a story. It is a reminder. When humanity buries injustice, even dogs dig it up. The truth cannot remain buried, and you are now the bearer of that truth. The 6 men of Willow Creek rest in peace. But in the world there are still thousands forgotten, still thousands of graves, still thousands of silent injustices. Maybe you will find them. Maybe you will speak up. Maybe you are the next Elijah, or maybe you are the next Shadow. Sniffing out the truth, digging, exposing, either way, remember, some truths cannot stay buried, and some dogs find not just bones but justice too. Shadow and Elijah walked toward sunset, toward a new day, toward a new grave, toward a new truth. And you? Where are you walking? Toward truth or toward silence? The choice is yours, but know this. Once you see the truth, you can no longer ignore it. Welcome to the army of truth. Welcome to forgotten justice. Welcome to change.